Have you ever wondered why two people can face the same stressful situation, yet one crumbles while the other grows stronger? Stress itself is not the deciding factor. Your brain's response to stress is. The same pressure that can break you has the potential to shape you into someone more resilient, more focused, and more capable. The key lies in the habits you practice every single day, because those habits rewire your mind to either collapse under stress or transform it into strength. Stress was never designed to be your enemy. It was built into your biology as a survival tool meant to sharpen your focus and give you energy in times of need. But in our modern world, stress doesn't come from lions chasing us in the wild. It comes from deadlines, financial worries, conflicts, and constant noise. Without proper habits to balance it, stress lingers, turning from a temporary signal into a chronic condition that wears down your brain and body. That's where daily habits come in. They are the tools that tell your brain how to respond, whether to break down or to rise up. One of the simplest yet most powerful habits is breathing. When stress strikes, your breath shortens and your body prepares for fight or flight. But by consciously slowing your breathing, you tell your brain that you are safe, rewiring it to calm down even in chaos. Gratitude works the same way. Focusing on what is good, even in the middle of struggle, trains your brain to balance fear with hope. Over time, these practices shift the default setting of your mind from panic to resilience. Nutrition, movement, and sleep also act as shields. The foods you eat can either inflame the brain and worsen stress, or calm the body and restore balance. Movement releases chemicals that reduce stress hormones and build stronger neural connections. Sleep clears away toxins that build up under stress and restores mental clarity. These aren't just lifestyle choices. They are brain shaping tools that determine whether stress weakens you or strengthens you. Even perspective itself is a habit. When you see stress as a threat, your brain reacts with fear. But when you reframe it as a challenge, something to overcome, your brain releases chemicals that boost confidence, learning, and growth. This shift in interpretation doesn't erase stress. It transforms it into fuel. The truth is, you don't need to escape stress to become stronger. You need to train your brain daily to respond differently. Strength is not built in the absence of stress, but in how you handle it. And small, consistent habits of calm, focus, and care teach your brain to adapt. Over time, you become the kind of person who does not crumble when pressure comes, but who rises because of it. Stress doesn't have to destroy you. It can be the very thing that builds your strength if you choose the habits that rewire your mind for resilience. Stress itself is not the enemy. Your response to it determines whether it harms or strengthens you. Every human being experiences stress, and it's woven into the very fabric of life. The brain was designed to react to stress as a survival mechanism, a way of sharpening focus and mobilizing energy in the face of danger. But in the modern world, stress doesn't come from wild animals or life or death chases. It comes from daily demands, overwhelming schedules, constant noise, and internal worries. Left unmanaged, this type of stress does damage. It drains energy, shrinks areas of the brain linked to memory and learning, and accelerates aging. Yet the very same stress, when approached differently, can be transformed into strength, resilience, and growth. The difference is not the stress itself. It is the response you choose. When the brain perceives stress, it releases hormones like adrenaline and cortisol in small doses. These chemicals increase alertness, sharpen focus, and give the body the energy to rise to a challenge. This is why stress before a performance or an exam can sometimes help people do their best. But when the response is constant, when cortisol floods the body day after day, it damages neurons, disrupts sleep, weakens immunity, and clouds thinking. The same biological process that can make you sharper in short term can destroy your health in the long term if it is not balanced. This is where the power of response comes in. People who see stress as a threat often collapse under it. Their bodies tighten, their breathing shortens, their thoughts spiral, and stress turns into paralysis. But those who see stress as a challenge, as an opportunity to grow, train their brains to handle it differently. They pause, they breathe, they shift their perspective, and their brains release chemicals that strengthen learning and resilience instead of breaking them down. Over time, this builds a mind that is more flexible and more capable of thriving even under pressure. Daily habits determine which path you take. If you face stress with unhealthy coping, overeating, isolation, negative thinking, it magnifies harm. But if you face it with mindfulness, physical activity, gratitude, or problem solving, it becomes training for resilience. Each response is like a repetition in the gym. The brain grows stronger or weaker depending on the weight you choose to lift. The truth is, stress is not going away. Life will always bring obstacles, demands, and uncertainty, but you have the ability to decide what stress will do to you. Will it erode your health and peace of mind, or will it shape you into someone stronger, wiser, and more capable? Stress itself is neutral. It is your response that transforms it into harm or into power. By mastering that response, you reclaim control, and stress becomes not your enemy, but your teacher. Small daily habits can rewire the brain to stay calm and focused under pressure. The brain is not a fixed structure. It is constantly changing, adapting to the signals you give it through thoughts, actions, and routines. Neuroscience calls this neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain to rewire itself over time. This means you never stuck with the mind you have today. You are shaping the brain of tomorrow with the habits you practice today. The remarkable part is that these changes don't require massive effort. Instead, it is the small, consistent habits you engage in daily that gradually teach the brain how to respond to stress with clarity rather than chaos. Think about how stress normally works. Under pressure, the brain can trigger a flood of cortisol and adrenaline, speeding up the heart and narrowing focus. While this response is useful in emergencies, it becomes harmful when it dominates daily life. People who feel constantly stressed often find their minds racing, their patience short, and their decisions reactive instead of thoughtful. But this automatic response is not permanent. With the right daily habits, the brain can be trained to recognize stress and respond differently, to slow down instead of panic, to focus instead of scatter, to adapt instead of collapse. One simple habit is controlled breathing. Taking a few minutes each day to practice slow, deep breaths rewires the nervous system. The body learns to associate stressful signals with calm responses, reducing the overactive fight or flight reaction. Another small habit is mindfulness, pausing to notice the present moment without judgment. This practice strengthens areas of the brain that regulate emotion and decision making, teaching you to stay grounded even when life feels overwhelming. Over time, these practices become second nature, and the brain automatically leans toward calm instead of panic. Physical movement is another habit that transforms the brain's response to pressure. Even a short daily walk increases blood flow, releases tension, and stimulates brain chemicals that improve mood and focus. Exercise doesn't just build muscle, it builds mental resilience. Likewise, gratitude practices, writing down a few things you appreciate each day, shift the brain's wiring toward positivity. When stress comes, a brain trained in gratitude sees opportunities instead of threats, solutions instead of problems. The power of small daily habits is that they work silently but steadily. They don't promise instant transformation, but their consistency builds a foundation of resilience. Just like brushing your teeth daily prevents decay, practicing these habits daily prevents the erosion of mental strength under pressure. The person who trains their brain in this way doesn't avoid stress, but they meet it differently with clarity, calm, and control. Staying calm and focused under pressure is not about willpower in the moment. It is about preparation over time. Each small daily habit is like a rehearsal, teaching the brain how to respond when the real challenges come. And with every repetition, you rewire your mind to choose calm over chaos, focus over fear, and strength over stress. Breathing, mindfulness, and gratitude train the brain to transform stress into resilience. These three habits may seem simple, almost too small to matter, but their impact on the brain is profound. Stress is a natural part of life. It cannot be avoided. What matters is how the brain processes it. Left unmanaged, stress floods the body with hormones that damage neurons, shrink areas of the brain tied to memory, and increase the risk of anxiety and depression. But with the right practices, stress can shift from being a destructive force to becoming a tool that strengthens focus, emotional control, and resilience. Breathing, mindfulness, and gratitude are powerful ways to make that shift happen. Breathing is the most immediate tool you have. In moments of stress, your breathing automatically becomes shallow and rapid, signaling to your brain that danger is near. This keeps the body locked in fight or flight mode. By consciously slowing and deepening your breath, you send the opposite signal. You tell your brain that you are safe. This activates the parasympathetic nervous system, lowering heart rate and calming the flood of stress hormones. Practicing this daily, even for a few minutes, gradually rewires the nervous system to respond more calmly under pressure. Over time, instead of panic taking over, your brain learns to find calm in the middle of chaos. Mindfulness works at another level. The human mind loves to race into the future, worrying about what might happen or to dwell on the past, replaying regrets and mistakes. Both patterns feed stress and anxiety. Mindfulness trains the brain to stay in the present moment, to notice what is happening without judgment. This habit strengthens the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision making and emotional regulation, and reduces overactivity in the amygdala, the center of fear and stress. With practice, mindfulness allows you to step back from stressful thoughts, observe them, and choose your response instead of being swept away. The brain becomes more balanced, resilient, and less reactive. Gratitude takes resilience even further. Stress narrows focus. It makes you fixate on problems, threats, and what could go wrong. Gratitude expands focus. It trains the brain to notice what is good, was working, and what is worth appreciating. Writing down just 3 things you are grateful for each day changes brain chemistry, increasing dopamine and serotonin, neurotransmitters linked to happiness and motivation. Over time, with gratitude, reshapes the brain's wiring, making it naturally more optimistic and less consumed by fear. This doesn't eliminate challenges, but it equips the brain to see opportunities within them, turning stress into fuel for growth rather than a weight of despair. Together, breathing, mindfulness, and gratitude form a powerful trio. They don't erase stress, they transform it. Each practice trains the brain to slow down, to center itself, and to look beyond fear. With repetition, they become automatic responses, helping you stay calm, clear, and strong no matter what pressures come your way. Stress will always be part of life, but with these habits, it becomes a source of resilience, not ruin nutrition movement. And and sleep protect the brain from the damaging effects of stress. Stress on its own is not always harmful. It is the chronic, unmanaged kind that wears the brain down. Long-term stress floods the body with cortisol and adrenaline hormones that, if left unchecked, can shrink the hippocampus, impair memory, disrupt mood, and weaken decision making. But the body is not defenseless. It has built in tools for repair and balance. And three of the most powerful are the food you eat, the way you move, and the rest you give yourself. These aren't optional lifestyle choices. They are shields that protect your brain from the erosion that stress can cause. Nutrition directly influences how the brain handles stress. The brain requires steady fuel to function well, and what you put on your plate either supports that or sabotages it. Diets high in refined sugar, processed foods, and unhealthy fats intensify inflammation in the brain, making stress symptoms worse. On the other hand, nutrient-rich foods like leafy greens, berries, fatty fish, nuts and seeds supply antioxidants, omega-3 fatty acids, and vitamins that protect brain cells from damage. Magnesium-rich foods such as spinach and pumpkin seeds calm the nervous system, while complex carbohydrates stabilize blood sugar, preventing mood swings. By choosing nourishing foods consistently, you arm your brain with the building blocks it needs to stay balanced under pressure. Movement is another powerful buffer. Exercise does far more than strengthen muscles or burn calories. It literally reshapes the brain. Physical activity increases blood flow, delivering oxygen and nutrients that help the brain repair itself. It also triggers the release of endorphins, the body's natural mood elevators, and reduces levels of stress hormones. Over time, consistent movement strengthens the hippocampus, the brain's memory and learning center, which is particularly vulnerable to stress. Even something as simple as a brisk daily walk can significantly reduce stress, boost focus, and build resilience. Movement tells the brain that it is capable, adaptive, and strong, turning stress into a stimulus for growth rather than a source of decline. Sleep may be the most underestimated protector of all. During deep sleep, the brain processes memories, clears away toxins, and repairs neural pathways. Without enough rest, the brain cannot reset from stress, leaving you more reactive, less focused, and emotionally unstable. Chronic sleep deprivation amplifies the effects of stress, making it harder to cope with even minor challenges. Protecting sleep by maintaining a regular schedule, limiting late night screen time, and creating a restful environment allows the brain to recover and prepare for the next day's pressures. Quality sleep is not a luxury, it is essential maintenance that shields the brain from stress-related damage. Together, nutrition, movement, and sleep form a threefold defense system. They don't erase stress from life, but they change the way the brain processes it. When you nourish the body, move it regularly, and give it time to rest, you build a brain that is more resilient, adaptable, and capable of handling whatever life throws at it. Stress will always exist, but with these protective tools, it no longer has the power to control or weaken you. Instead, it becomes something you can manage, learn from, and even grow stronger through. Perspective shifts, seeing stress as a challenge instead of a threat, change brain chemistry. The way you interpret stress has as much impact on your brain as the stress itself. Two people can face the same pressure, yet their experiences are completely different depending on how they frame it. One sees stress as overwhelming, dangerous, and damaging. Their body reacts with fear, their brain floods with cortisol, and every task feels heavier than it is. The other sees stress as an opportunity to grow, a challenge to rise to. Their brain shifts into problem solving mode, releases more balanced neurochemicals, and strengthens resilience with every effort. The event is the same, but the perspective changes everything. The brain is not neutral, it responds to perception. When stress is seen as a threat, the amygdala, the fear center of the brain, becomes overactive. This shrinks focus to the negative, makes solutions harder to see, and leaves the body in constant fight or flight mode. Over time, this kind of perception damages memory, weakens the immune system, and accelerates burnout. Yet when stress is viewed as a challenge, the prefrontal cortex, the rational, higher thinking part of the brain, takes charge. Instead of panic, the brain shifts towards strategy and growth. Chemicals like dopamine and DHEA rise, enhancing motivation, learning, and adaptability. The same pressure that once harmed you becomes fuel for growth. This perspective shift is not about pretending stress feels good. It's about reframing its purpose. Athletes do this all the time. They don't see the pressure of competition as a threat. They see it as a chance to prove their strength. Entrepreneurs often describe challenges not as setbacks, but as lessons that refine their skills. In both cases, the brain adapts positively because the mind interprets stress as something useful rather than destructive. Daily habits reinforce this shift. Practicing gratitude teaches the brain to look for opportunities even when circumstances are difficult. Mindfulness trains awareness, allowing you to notice when fear is driving your perspective and to consciously reframe it. Self-talk also plays a role. Repeating words like, I can handle this, or this is making me stronger, wires the brain to believe it. Over time, these small adjustments change the brain's chemistry so that it defaults less to panic and more to problem solving. What makes this powerful is that it places control back in your hands. You may not always control the stress itself, but you can control how you see it. When you reframe stress as a challenge, you reduce its power to harm you and increase your capacity to grow from it. The brain literally rewires to reflect your chosen perspective, making each new challenge easier to face. Stress will always be part of life. The question is whether you will let it weaken you or strengthen you. By shifting your perspective, by training your mind to see stress as a challenge, you transform brain chemistry, enhance resilience, and build the kind of strength that endures. What once felt like an enemy can become your greatest teacher. Long-term strength is built through consistency, not through avoiding stress altogether. Many people spend their lives trying to dodge every difficult situation, hoping that by staying comfortable, they can preserve their peace of mind. But real resilience and lasting strength are not developed in the absence of stress. They are forged in how you consistently respond to it. Stress is like resistance in the gym. Without it, muscles never grow. In the same way, the mind and brain require challenges, setbacks, and pressures to become stronger. Avoiding stress completely only leaves you fragile when life inevitably brings it back. Facing stress with steady, healthy responses builds the kind of durability that carries you through any storm. Consistency is the key. A single act of courage in a stressful moment is valuable, but it is not what builds long-term strength. What truly rewires the brain is the repeated practice of meeting stress with resilience day after day. Each time you choose to pause and breathe instead of panicking, you reinforce calm as your default response. Each time you choose to reflect instead of react, you strengthen the brain circuits responsible for self-control and emotional balance. These small acts compound over time, just like daily exercise builds endurance. The brain learns not to crumble at the first sign of difficulty, but to adapt and keep moving forward. This consistency extends into daily habits that support the brain's resilience. Regular sleep patterns, balanced nutrition, physical activity, and mindfulness practices all act as training sessions for the brain. They prepare you so that when stress does arrive, you have the mental and physical strength to handle it. Skipping these habits and hoping life remains easy leaves you unprepared. Consistency in self care creates a reserve of strength that you can draw upon when challenges appear unexpectedly. Avoiding stress may feel safe, but it prevents growth. It's like refusing to lift weights because they're heavy. Yes, you avoid the strain in the moment, but you also avoid the strength that comes after. Life will never be free of stress, whether it's work, relationships, finances, or personal goals. Pressure will always exist. The choice is whether you let stress weaken you by avoiding it or strengthen you by facing it with consistent resilience. Long term strength is not about dramatic bursts of bravery or single acts of discipline. It's about repetition, persistence, and showing up daily with the right mindset. When you respond to stress with healthy habits, you rewire the brain to see challenges not as threats, but as opportunities. Over time, this builds a foundation of strength so solid that even when life feels overwhelming, you don't collapse, you endure and grow stronger. True resilience is the product of consistency. The person who trains their brain daily to handle stress calmly becomes unshakable. They don't run from life's pressures. They use them as stepping stones. Avoiding stress leads to weakness, but embracing it with steady, consistent responses leads to a strength that lasts a lifetime.